Hello, happy Monday. John Lynch has spoken at the NFL owners meetings, and we have our next update on the Jimmy Garoppolo saga, which we'll go through right here. I know a lot of people upset, but as you'll see in one of the captions I put down at the bottom here in a few minutes, what did you think John Lynch was going to say today? It went exactly along with a reporting of this whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation, and it went exactly along with what the 49ers should do from a business perspective regarding the trade market, regarding the fact that some wrenches have been thrown in the trade market, and regarding the fact that one of those wrenches is Jimmy Garoppolo is currently rehabbing from shoulder surgery, and that's proven to have at least stalled his trade value as we progress through this 2022 offseason. So, through some of the quotes here, John Lynch on the 49ers releasing Jimmy Garoppolo at the NFL owners meetings, the Breakers, West Palm Beach, Florida. I don't foresee that. He's too good of a player. I think Jimmy will be playing for us or he'll be playing for somebody else. Obviously, part of the speculation was that the 49ers might release Jimmy Garoppolo if they were unable to find a trade partner, mainly due to salary cap concerns, because they would still save money, even though Garoppolo is owed a $7.5 million injury guarantee. If he is released, they would gain what, 17 or 18 million dollars in short-term cap space instead of the 25 million or so that a clean release without that injury guarantee, which obviously is unrealistic right now, would entail. But that supposition was based on a flawed logic regarding the salary cap. It was based on simplistic logic. It said, oh, if the 49ers had 25 million more right away in their bank account, salary cap wise to spend, it would somehow change their approach. Salary cap is a little bit more fungible than that. You can manipulate it, especially now with revenues skyrocketing in the future. And I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but the 49ers can make more immediate room without too much of a downhill cost. They already did so by restructuring Eric Armstead and by restructuring George Kittle. If and when they do need more space, even if Jimmy Garoppolo is on the roster, they can do other moves that don't involve Jimmy Garoppolo and trading or cutting him to open up that room. So if the 49ers had wanted to sign somebody or do want to sign somebody or do want to sign their draft class moving forward, they can actually maneuver with the cap in a way that allows them to do so without releasing Jimmy Garoppolo. So that means that just releasing or trading him is not something that is all too appealing for the 49ers right now. Lynch went on to say, all along, we understood that we really valued Jimmy and never were just going to give him away. We were always going to hold true to what we thought his value was. And again, from a business perspective, this makes absolute sense. If there is no opportunity cost to holding Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster right now, then you might as well buy time in the pocket and wait to try to get the opportune value in return back for him. So no, none of this means that Jimmy Garoppolo is likely to start over Trey Lance in 2022. None of this means more than it should mean on the surface. John Lynch was clear to be unclear about that. He said Jimmy is either going to be playing for us or he's going to be playing for someone else. He's not going out there and saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be starting for the 49ers. He's saying that the 49ers want to keep their options open. They want to keep that option power open because it was really constricted by the fact that the wrenches came into the quarterback market. Deshaun Watson, obviously, was a big wrench. Tom Brady was a big wrench, unretiring. And then the biggest of all wrenches was Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder surgery. So this is all irrelevant information to the 49ers' larger approach. And that larger approach involves maximizing potential return for an asset. Alex Mack is expected to return for the 2022 season. Just popped across Twitter. According to John Lynch, that was the expectation at the NFL Combine. Remains the expectation after Alex Mack just got married in Ireland. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to the 49ers. Looks like they're going to have a key center back. Back to the matter at hand. John Lynch said the 49ers never received a firm offer for Jimmy Garoppolo, which would be contrary to what I think Pro Football Talk reported. And again, there are many outlets who have consistently been wrong about everything 49ers QB related over the past year or so. This is yet another matter on which one of those many outlets has been incorrect. There was recently a report that the 49ers had an offer on the table that they passed up, or at least that John Lynch was going around telling teams that he had an offer. Lynch today said that he didn't tell any teams that the 49ers actually had a firm offer. I don't know where that report would have come from. Maybe the 49ers trying to leak something out there to drum up trade interest. But at the end of the day, the league talks. The league can verify if offers are on the table or not. A lot of these conspiracy theories that people pass along and they're like, oh, he's just trying to raise trade value. Well, I mean, you could just call other GMs and owners to figure out if that offer is on the table. It's not like this grand plan from Lynch to leak something to Pro Football Talk in the media would actually work if anybody had half a brain. And I'm sure the league does have half a brain when they're making these dealings. So, I tend to believe that the 49ers never received a firm offer and probably weren't telling teams that they had a firm offer. They could have been telling teams they had interest. That was probably true. And I'm sure a lot of that was snuffed out at the time of the shoulder injury as far as due diligence went. As I guess I should say shoulder surgery since the injury happened before. But as far as desired due diligence went, yeah, of course, that probably came pouring in. We said that at the time. The league is going to want a longer look at some of these medical files. And if enough of the QB needy teams need to have a look, or if they're like the Colts and they say, hey, this guy can't participate in OTAs, we have no interest in him right now. Well, that's just the way that things are. That means that the 49ers don't get the return that they possibly want right now. They don't get offered anything concrete, and they have to buy some time in the pocket moving forward. So at the end of the day, I mean, I know that Twitter's blowing up about this right now. I know that Reddit's probably blowing up about this right now. I know that those new Twitter spaces are probably going crazy. Every single social media is going wild, and I'm sure the 49ers don't care. Because what did people expect John Lynch to say? They expect him to come out at the owners' meetings and say, oh, yeah, we're going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo tomorrow. They expect him to go out there and say, oh, no, we're definitely going to have Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster this year. He's going to be a starting quarterback in March. I mean, again, it's March. Why would the 49ers broadcast any firm plans when they're literally operating in a way that gives them flexibility moving forward? So they don't have firm plans. It's only March. Why would they telegraph anything that might happen in September or even in April for that matter? Even if they are planning to trade Jimmy Garoppolo in 2 days, why would they go broadcast it to the rest of the world? Just to make a Twitter space happy? Just to make people go easier on them, when they're anonymously talking behind an egg avatar on social media? I mean, it doesn't compute or make any business sense for the 49ers to say anything different than they said today. John Lynch is going to try to maintain option power, and he's obviously not going to give away an asset that might yield a future return if there's no opportunity cost of keeping that asset for the time being. Opportunity cost is an economics term. It means that you are costing yourself of the opportunity to do something because you're instead holding on to something else. Is there an opportunity cost to holding on to Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, in a simplistic mathematical term, yes. And I talked about this a couple minutes ago. You think that if you have 25 million more of raw cap space right now, you can do a whole lot more in free agency. But this isn't Madden. This isn't like, oh, yeah, just go click on this player, you bring him in, and you have that cap space. This is much more fluid. And as we can see through the restructures of Armstead and Kittle and the potential restructures of the extensions of Ebukam and somebody like Jimmy Ward, and the fact that the NFL is about to get $110 billion of TV revenue through these new deals, and that the salary cap might be up to $300 million in 2027, we can see that kicking the can down the road financially is much less safe and much more sustainable than it was even just a couple of weeks ago. And the league is acting in accordance with this, which is why you see all these big contracts being handed out. You see this record money being handed out. And it's mainly being handed out on deals that have massive numbers in their final 3 years when that cap is expected to explode. So the 49ers are doing the same thing. They're kicking contracts down the road, and they're adding void years so they can take advantage of when the cap is expected to be $300 million. And through that, the 49ers can even extend Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa while still carrying Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's the bottom line. The 49ers can afford to carry Garoppolo right now without hurting their salary cap purchasing power. That was the gist of everything John Lynch said about Garoppolo today. He said, right here, We were always going to hold true to what we thought his value was. You want to look at a football metaphor? 49ers are going to sit in that pocket and they're going to wait. They're going to wait until they absolutely have to release the football. And they're not going to release it a second earlier if there's not a receiver open, because they can, because that's what you should do in this situation. Now, once they actually get hit, once there is contact on the quarterback, you better believe they're going to release the football. And a release of Jimmy Garoppolo, an outright release, would be like throwing it away. Yeah, fine. They'll throw it away if they absolutely have to. But they want to complete a pass downfield, so they're going to wait for a receiver to try to get open. It's as simple as that. There's no reason to force the pass right now. And I'm sure many of you will come up with a Jimmy Garoppolo linebacker dropping into coverage joke right now through this metaphor, but that's exactly what the 49ers are trying to avoid. Why force a pass into coverage downfield when at the current moment there's nobody open, yet the quarterback is not getting hit yet? A lot of people are pretending that the quarterback is getting hit because they're saying, oh, the 49ers are handcuffed without this money, and that's just not true. It's simplistic economics in the NFL. If you're looking at this simplistically, you won't understand it. But if you're looking at this in terms of restructures and the fact that the 49ers still have more recourses on their table that do not involve letting go of Jimmy Garoppolo, then you'll get it. You'll get that the 49ers have more avenues to buy time in the pocket without throwing the football yet. So that's the metaphor. The metaphor is hanging in the pocket until the 49ers don't have a choice to do otherwise. And they can extend Bosa and Deebo Samuel through other financial recourses. Obviously, extending Ebicom, extending Ward, or doing any related maneuvers are two examples of those types of recourses. But just look at Fred Warner's contract. Fred Warner signed a record deal for the linebacker position last year without raising his 2021 cap hit a single cent from his rookie deal. Samuel and Bosa will be more expensive than Warner, so the 49ers will probably have to raise their cap hits a little bit in that first year, but not all too much. Through the double bonuses, you split a bonus into signing and roster bonus. You amortize it throughout the life of the deal. And through a buyback bonus, which they used with Fred Warner and might well use with Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, you can keep those cap hits really low for that first year. You're not going to – you could financially work your way around this using some of these tricks, which are more sustainable than ever, with the cap exploding in future years. It's like taking out – it's like cap inflation, right? Cap dollars now are more valuable than cap dollars in the future because of how the cap is spiking. So you'd rather spend the money in the future when the cap dollars are worth less, because it's the inverse of actual spending money. It's cap money. You're working up against the limit. So you want to push that spending out into the future. You're incentivized to do so. And in doing so, you open up money for the now. And that's when you pay Jimmy Garoppolo so that you can hang in the pocket and you can maximize the return moving forward. In short, the 49ers are waiting for an inflection point for their next move with Jimmy Garoppolo. Inflection point is when they get hit in the pocket. Inflection point is when that pass rusher finally reaches them. Do we know when that's going to happen? Well, it could happen when, an inflection point can either be somebody being wide open, right? Receiver downfield. So it could happen that they get offered something amazing in a week. We never know. NFL trade market can be weird. But hey, in front of the draft, maybe somebody decides to roll the dice on Jimmy Garoppolo. Unlikely, but possible. That's an inflection point. At that point, the 49ers will release the football. They'll throw downfield. They'll go for the big gain, and they'll get the return. But that's unlikely. It's more likely that an inflection point will come later through a couple ways. One of the ways is that the quarterback market evolves in the league. Somebody gets hurt. Or in the case of the 49ers, their own guy gets hurt. I mean, knock on wood, nobody wants this to happen. But Trey Lance got hurt, last year in training camp? Yeah, he broke his finger against the Raiders. So something like that, it happened not in camp. It happened against the Raiders in week 4 of the preseason, or week 3. There's only 3 games last year. Something can happen in the offseason to where the depth of your quarterback room is challenged and tested. You never know. I mean, the 49ers have had players get hurt in the offseason in every single season that I can remember covering this team. And just like you want depth at the wide receiver position, at the running back position, O-line, D-line, it doesn't hurt to have depth at quarterback. In fact, one could argue that's the most important position to have depth at. So an inflection point may push your decision on Garoppolo sooner rather than later. There could be a Lance injury. There could be a Sudfeld injury, although Lance injury obviously would be much more impactful in terms of what you would do to Jimmy Garoppolo. And there could be an injury amongst the other 31 teams in the league, and all of a sudden they may need a starting caliber quarterback. Any of that would change the 49ers thinking at the snap of a finger, which is why they want to keep their thinking as broad and as option powerful as they can. So you just wait. You wait for that inflection point. It could be an injury here. It could be an injury there. It could be a trade opportunity there. And these trade opportunities are much more likely to materialize when Jimmy Garoppolo is actually healthy moving forward. So if there's no cost to wait for this inflection point, then you wait for the inflection point because it's good for business. It's as simple as that. It's impossible to tell exactly when that inflection point may come, but that's why there's no rush for the 49ers at the moment. The ideal scenario for the 49ers, and we had Lynch talking about plan A, plan B, plan C at the NFL Combine. The ideal scenario for the 49ers was to trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a significant return early in the offseason. Yes, in a perfect world, the 49ers would have finished the NFC. Well, in a perfect world, they would have won the Super Bowl and probably had other decisions to make. But lo and behold, they made it to the NFC Championship game. They lost by 3 points there. They entered the offseason. In a perfect world, you probably want to see something like what the Chiefs underwent with Washington when they traded Alex Smith away and paved the road for Patrick Mahomes. You want a significant return for Jimmy Garoppolo. You want Garoppolo to go somewhere where he'll be happy. You do right by all the parties involved, and you move forward into the Trey Lance era armed with extra draft capital for either 2022 or 2023. You don't have to do any cap maneuvering. It saves Parag Marathe some time in his office, and everybody lives happily ever after. Yes, that's plan A. That was the ideal scenario. But guess what? This is the real world. You don't always see plan A materialize. Wrenches are thrown into things. Wrenches do happen. And a wrench was thrown into the 49ers plan A. The ideal scenario, well, Jimmy Garoppolo had to have shoulder surgery because the rehab wasn't taking on his capsule tear. And he did undergo that surgery right around the time of the Combine, and the 49ers were unable to, because of that and some other extenuating circumstances, as I mentioned, with the market with Watson and with Brady, the 49ers weren't able to go to plan A. So a wrench did happen. And just because a wrench did happen, we have to illustrate that it's about reacting to the current situation that you're in and not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Just because a quarterback is under pressure in the pocket doesn't mean that he should force the ball to a certain receiver. You have to go to your next read in the progression. So you don't want to use plan A when plan B is more applicable. The 49ers are on plan B. We have a whole lot of people getting upset that the 49ers aren't following plan A, even though it doesn't make any sense right now to be following plan A, because you'd be trying to fit a square peg into the round hole and you wouldn't be maximizing the potentially good reward for your team. You would just be punting at a time when you have time. You don't punt on first down. You don't punt on second down. I know that Stanford football, back when I first started following them in 2006, they were so bad before Jim Harbaugh came. They punted on third down. Suboptimal decision to punt on third down, right? You give yourself fewer chances to move the football, gain something down the field. Well, same thing. It would be a suboptimal decision at this point to release or trade Jimmy Garoppolo for peanuts. So you hang in there, you try to pick up the first down, and you try to optimize your decision moving forward. Nobody could say for certain how an optimal decision might look once this is all said and done. But we do know that the process that the 49ers are operating with is one that's intended to generate that more optimal decision. So, recap of what Lynch said. I don't foresee us releasing Jimmy Garoppolo. He's too good of a player. I think Jimmy will be playing for us, or he'll be playing for somebody else. And hey, this is congruent with everything the 49ers have ever thought of Jimmy Garoppolo. They value him a whole lot more than social media values him. And he obviously was an efficient quarterback within the context of Kyle Shanahan's system. That's why, we talk about EPA per play and we talk about the DVOA. Those are all statistics that measure how good a quarterback melds with a play caller and how that quarterback interacts and produces within the context of the offensive line and the weapons that he has on hand. It was Montana and Bill Walsh, Steve Young and Bill Walsh. And in the modern day, obviously, the 49ers, their brain trust has been Kyle Shanahan working with whatever quarterback he has at hand. Most of the time, it's been Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of the time, it hasn't been. So it's Garoppolo, Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, all those weapons, George Kittle in tow. How efficiently do they produce? Garoppolo has been efficient within the context of that. And that's why the 49ers value him the way that they do. And they think that other teams will also value him in a way that gives them some return moving forward when this impasse is broken, when the shoulder heals, when missing OTAs is no longer an issue. And that will happen probably after OTAs. So those are all important things to keep in mind. I'm going to check the text messages really quick. Nothing new here. I'm going to go on and make another video about the other stuff that John Lynch said today. I know I mentioned the Alex Mack update here halfway through, but wanted to focus this one on Jimmy Garoppolo. There'll be other pointers to hit as far as what the 49ers are updating us with at this point of the year. Remember, we have the combine at the end of February. At the end of March, you have the owners' meetings, and then you have the draft at the end of April. So it's basically on a month-by-month basis. We get updates, and obviously after the draft, OTAs will happen. Then we get our summer break, and then the 2022 season will start. More from Lynch. All along, we understood that we really value Jimmy Garoppolo. We're never going to just give him away. That makes business sense, as does this. This refutes a lot of erroneous reporting. The 49ers never received a firm offer for Jimmy Garoppolo. And Lynch said he didn't tell any teams the 49ers actually had one, contrary to other reports. I just got to summarize it with this. What did people expect John Lynch to say? He's going to keep those options open at this point because that's just how you do business. You're not going to give away an asset that might yield a future return if there's no opportunity cost of keeping that asset for the time being. Boom. Bottom line, if the 49ers can afford to carry Garoppolo right now without hurting their salary cap purchasing power, they're going to do it because they can extend Bosa and Samuel even with him on the roster. They'll wait for that inflection point. They'll hang in that pocket as long as they need to. Remember, a release is a throwaway, still better than a sack, and a completion downfield is what they're actually going for. And of course, they want to get as many yards with that completion as possible. Okay, guys, subscribe to the channel. I'll have another video updating you with everything that John Lynch said about the rest of the roster. I'm not answering questions in this one because we're going to do a separate video as a Q&A. I don't even have the comment section open. I'm sure it's a complete hailstorm in there for, lack of a more obscene word. So you guys have fun arguing about this. I think is as simple as what we just outlined over the past 22 minutes. All right, everybody, take care. Another update from the NFL owners meetings in Florida with John Lynch's comments there is coming in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. Sub to the channel, and we'll talk to you all in just a bit. Enjoy.